Hello, welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. So all of India has been elated, a collective sigh of relief that the 41 trapped workers were finally rescued after 17 long days. All credit to the various agencies who were involved: central government, state government, NDRF, SDRF, the Border Roads Organization, the Army Engineering Corps. There were private players, foreign tunneling experts. Everybody was brought in with one mission, and that was to get these folks out. And most importantly, how can one forget the rat miners who got through the last and most critical phase? Now, instead of celebrating this as yet another example of the prowess that India has managed to acquire in the last 10 to 20 years in disaster management, some folks in the opposition are using this as an opportunity for political point scoring. Could that have not been avoided at a time such as this? But first, the story of the great Himalayan rescue.
मैं सबका धन्यवाद करता हूं कि इस बहुत ही कठिन और चुनौतीपूर्ण काम को सभी लोगों ने अपना सहयोग प्रदान किया। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री आदरणीय मोदी जी लगातार इस रेस्क्यू अभियान की हमसे सभी लोगों से लगातार जानकारी करते थे।
मैंने पहले दिन जब आप लोगों से बात की थी, मैंने एक ही चीज़ कही थी, हमारा एक ही लक्ष्य है, इनको सेफ में।
The entire nation has been cheering for the safe return of these 41 workers. Here's what experts are saying as to what could have possibly led to the collapse. One theory is that the collapse section could have had a layer of weak rock, so geological studies are important. The compromised D section may not have been detected during the planning stage itself. Also, it's possible, since this project has been going on for the last 3 years or so, water seepage, particularly after the rainy season, after the monsoon season, there could have been water seepage which could have created a void above the main tunnel structure. The void may have possibly imploded during the construction operation, which moved into this permanent structure phase just before this collapse happened. Now remember, international tunneling experts from around the world, from Australia, from America, were brought in to try and save these 41 trapped workers. So what is the way forward? Number one, a stringent maintenance schedule for structural integrity of all projects, sensors as well as monitoring technology to assess if there's been any structural damage to the structures that have happened after construction began, AI, drones, robotics for efficient inspections, periodic third-party risk assessments. What also happens is in many of these construction projects, because everybody has a vested interest in getting this completed, you need to have independent third-party risk assessment studies, particularly to assess geological factors. And contingency plans and emergency protocols have also need to be put in place for any structural concerns that are detected. Also, training personnel in tunnel management and in emergency response. So all of those points we will be putting to two people who are right up front and center in this rescue operation. They're the two big newsmakers. We'll be playing out their interviews at 9:30 p.m. tonight. The men behind the mission in that sense. Union Minister General V.K. Singh was there from day one, and Bhaskar Kulbe is a former advisor to the Prime Minister's office. Both of them will be joining us at 9:30 p.m. those interviews. Nonetheless, while the nation was cheering, a billion eyes was on this rescue effort, all 41 rescued safely. A war of words has now erupted between the centre and the opposition India Alliance, which has accused the Prime Minister of trying to hog the credit, while the government maintains it's the Prime Minister who led from the front.
देखिए, एक बात तो मैं जरूर कहूँगा, आपने ठीक कहा, कैबिनेट में उसका विषय भी आया, प्रधानमंत्री जी बहुत भावुक भी थे और एक होल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट या पूरा देश जैसे एक तरह से आप सबकी दुआएं भी साथ में थी और हर तरह के प्रयास एक एक जान बचाने के लिए किया गया। प्रधानमंत्री जी चुनाव प्रचार के दौरान भी दिन में कम से कम 2 बार स्थिति को वहां के मुख्यमंत्री से जानकारी तो लेते थे, अपने पीएमओ के अधिकारी भी वहां पर थे, केंद्र सरकार के डिपार्टमेंट्स के अधिकारी थे, दुनिया भर से जहां से जो भी सहायता ली जा सकती थी वो भी थी। आपको जानकारी देने के लिए दिन में 2 बार प्रेस ब्रीफिंग, एक बार यहां से एक बार उत्तराखंड से भी की जाती थी।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी का एक ही काम है, जीत गए तो उनकी क्रेडिट, हार गए तो दूसरे पर, कुछ दुर्घटना हो जाती तो दूसरे पर और निकल गए तो सब उनका। यही तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की रणनीति है, यही नीति है।
कल बहुत ही एंजाइटी में हम लोग घंटा पार किया, दिन पार किया, लेकिन राहुल जी, प्रियंका जी सबने डांस कर रहा था तेलंगाना में। 26/11 का समय भी ये लोग ऐसा ही कर रहा था। तो इतना इनसेंसिटिव लीडरशिप देश को कभी नहीं देखा। देश ने जो कांग्रेस का लीडरशिप को जो भी देख रहा है, ये लीडरशिप इतना इनसेंसिटिव है, इतना इनह्यूमन है, जिसका कोई कंपेयर नहीं किया जा सकता है।
परंतु एक यक्ष प्रश्न पिछले 17 दिन से मथता रहा हमको, भारतवासियों को, कि क्या आखिर में काम वही सैकड़ों साल पुरानी रैट की टीम आई जो माइंस में लगती है। हमारा देश चांद पे पहुंच गया है और हम अपने से खड़े हुए 50 मीटर दूर तक 17 दिन नहीं पहुंच पाए।
So for now, the health and safety of the workers is of utmost importance. The Chief Minister, in fact, went to the hospital today. He met with all of the workers who were rescued. He's tweeted on their health status, and that's part of our Motorola India's best 5G smartphone brand's tweet of the day. This is what
Hello, Moto.
This is what Pushkar Dhami tweeted, and I'm going to quote from that tweet. Reached the community health center in Chinliasore, inquired about the well-being of the laborers and gave them a check of amount of 1 lakh rupees for relief. During this time, also met family members of the laborer brothers. During this, the family members of the workers expressed their gratitude to the state administration for taking all out efforts to save these 41 people. Our government stands with the laborers who take the state on the path of development in every situation. And with that, let's get to our big debate tonight. Who is really trivializing or politicizing the Himalayan rescue operation?
Hello, Moto.
All right, joining us on the talking point this evening, Tuin Sinha is national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Shama Mohammed, national spokesperson of the Congress Party, CP Rajendran is a geologist, and Atul Sati is a climate activist who's worked extensively there in the hills in Uttarakhand. Let me start with Dr. Shama Mohammed. You had also put out a tweet earlier today saying that now that the workers have been rescued, Mr. Modi will claim all credit, he will hog the limelight. You said that he will go there and try to hog all the limelight. When he went for the World Cup finals, your party ended up calling him a panoti. When he didn't go there, now you're saying he's hogging all the limelight. Why are you intent on politicizing an issue on which the entire nation has heaved a collective sigh of relief that all 41 are safe?
Okay, you must give me some time. We have all a collective sigh of relief, even me and my own party, that they have come out, they're safe. the 41 workers. Now, let me tell you the background of this. The Char Dham Highway project is one of Narendra Modi's flagship infrastructure project. Let's understand that. Now, very important is when a tunnel is more than 3 kilometers, which is this particular tunnel, the Silkyara is 4.2 kilometers, you need something called an escape route. And the Modi's Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs dated February 20th, 2018, specially said that there should be an escape passage in this because it's 4.2 kilometers. But when you ask the official at the National Highway Infrastructure Development Corporation, he says that escape tunnel will only be there when it's operation and not when it's constructed. So for me, we didn't have to reach this stage. What we are saying is that why was the escape tunnel not there? Isn't the safety of the workers very important?
But Shama, you didn't say any of this in your tweet. In your tweet this morning, you said Mr. Modi will go to hog all the limelight.
I'm coming to that. So what happens with the Prime Minister is when this accident happened more than 17 days ago, what he needed to do was after a few days, he had to speak, address the nation, address the people, his families and say that, you know, we are with you. We are going to do everything possible to get them out. But what I saw is him in a cricket stadium, getting into the plane and, waving. He never visited places like Manipur. 4 Jawans have been killed, martyred a few days ago, never visited there. But when there is success, my Prime Minister reaches there with the cameras.
Why doesn't he speak? The Prime Minister was busy going to cricket matches and flying the Tejas. Instead, he should have gone to Uttarakhand to be with these workers. He did not make any public statement about these workers and the efforts that are being put in to save these workers. That's the contention from the Congress Party and Dr. Shama Mohammed.
Well, good evening, Zaka. Let me not mince words today. Congress is today a fringe in this country, and the kind of tweet which they had put out yesterday morning, first they should apologize to the nation. They were lampooning the entire disaster, with a caricature of the Prime Minister holding a flag and asking whether this is the reason the laborers have not been, the workers have not been brought out. Is that how a responsible opposition should behave? With the quantum of roads that have been constructed and tunnels that have been constructed by BRO in the last 9.5 years across Arunachal, across Ladakh and across all hilly regions, it would be juvenile for the Congress to think that safety audits are not being, undertaking. It would be juvenile for them to think that we don't take adequate precautions. But despite that,
just now in the last 2 days, the NHAI has announced a complete audit of all tunneling projects that it's undertaking across the country. Just 2 days ago, they made that announcement.
No. Are you trying to say that, no safety measures were being followed in the last 9.5 years? Sometimes accidents happen.
No, you tell me. NHAI has announced it. Why are you asking me? NHAI has announced it.
No. NHAI is not involved with all the projects. BRO is equally involved with most of the projects in the hilly regions. So NHAI,
this project
probably is not involved with this project at all.
By a company called NHIDCL for the National Highways Authority of India.
So NHAI, that is not an NHAI project any which way. NHIDCL is a different entity from NHAI.
No, it's building for an NHAI project. Over here, NHIDCL is the company, the infrastructure construction company that was building for what was an NHAI project.
No, the construction over here was being carried out by NHIDCL, which is an independent entity within the MORTH, within the Ministry for Road Transport and Highways.
Okay.
Let us not deviate from the moot point over here. What we have achieved in the last 17 days is nothing short of extraordinary. 17 different agencies was seamlessly being coordinated by the top office. The Prime Minister was personally supervising it. 3 top officials, which included the Principal Secretary, which included a Minister, were personally parking there. Were personally parked there.
Okay.
The Prime Minister attending rallies or the Prime Minister attending the cricket final, how does it impact the rescue operations?
Okay.
In the last 9.5
respond
years,
to that
the government
before I go to Atul Sati and to CP Rajendran. The point is 650 people from 16 different agencies were involved. SDRF, NDRF, state government agencies, central government agencies, private players were brought in, foreign experts were brought in. Like Tuin said, the principal secretary to the Prime Minister, arguably the most powerful bureaucrat in the country, was there, camped in for a couple of days. The former PMO advisor, senior advisor, was there. A union minister, General VK Singh, was there. I'll be speaking to both of them in the latter part of this program. Surely that coordination of various government departments and agencies could not have been done unless it was led from the top, unless it was coming from the highest echelons of government.
Every Tom, Dick and Harry can be there. Every Tom, Dick and Harry can be there, Zaka. But at the end of the day, the question arises is, why was that escape tunnel not there? Number two, why did the Prime Minister not release a statement? And I'm asking you this question again and again. He could have just said that, you know what, I'm with the people who are there. Why doesn't he do it? Why do we need to have another Morbi Bridge disaster? Why did we have to have this in the first place? And also, let me put one more point in. There were no safety equipments. You know, there were no safety gears for this. These are all what is coming out from the audit and what the people are saying over there. So the question arises that the Prime Minister of India, whenever there is something, some sort of disaster, keeps mum till there is success. I've given the example of Manipur, which he has not stepped in. My leader Rahul Gandhi was there. The Jawans who have been martyred, he has not gone there. And one last point.
Shama, you and your party were going after the Prime Minister, saying he went for the final, and that's why India lost. You called him Panoti and all kinds of names. Mamata Banerjee called him Papi and so on. So, damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
See, Panoti was called by the people, the Janta of India. All right, let's understand that. It started out from there. One very important point. 26/11 happened. We were fighting terrorists. I still remember. Hemant Karkare was martyred, but a CM of Gujarat was standing in front of the hotel, abusing Manmohan Singh, abusing UPA, and putting out posters with blood, that we have blood on our hands.
No,
is that justified?
That is not material to the current debate. Let me go to the experts.
Material.
CP Rajendran is also there, and Atul Sati is also there with us.
Zaka, can I quickly respond?
Yeah, 1 second, and I'll come back to you. Let me ask CP Rajendran. You know, while we're all, like I said, heaving a collective sigh of relief, the entire nation was praying for the safe escape, the safe rescue of these 41 workers, and that has happened. But now I think we need to ask some pertinent questions, and one of which is, in ecologically fragile places like Uttarkashi, you know, should we have a reassessment, a re-look at some of these mass infrastructure projects? You also have to balance that out with the fact that, you know, tens of millions of people are traveling for religious pilgrimages, they're traveling for tourism purposes, and our infrastructure needs to keep pace with that. So how do you balance out the two? Mr. Rajendran.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. You know, I here to be as a subject expert here, so I don't want to get into all this political bickerings and all that. So I want to stick to my argument that, you know, we need infrastructural projects all over the country, including the Himalaya. But the question is, you know, we also need to understand that environmental security is also very important. So this is where I think we have failed to, you know, measure up to the expectations of the current expectations, especially in the background of climate change and number of UN resolutions to which India is a party. So here the question is, you know, when you get into the Himalayan terrain, what we have to understand is that this is a very tectonically sensitive, environmentally sensitive area.
Yeah.
So when you come up with huge infrastructural projects, we need to be careful that it doesn't interfere with into the nature's sphere of activities, because that is its own momentum which we shouldn't disturb. And if you can look back and see, there is a series of mishaps and disasters that has happened all along the Himalayan arc. And that applies to Himachal, that applies to Uttarakhand, and recently, a few months ago, just in Sikkim. So this has been a sequence of happen, and most of these things are related
to... If I may, Mr. Rajendran, you know, I spoke to General VK Singh. I'll play out that interview in the latter half of this program. One of the things he said was, you know, it was not like construction on this project began yesterday or day before. The construction on this project began 3.5 years ago, and the construction was going fine until this incident happened. What he said was it was not the tunneling technique or the tunneling experts who were involved in this which fell short, but the geological studies, and you're a geologist, so you very well know this. It's not like the geological study can be conducted at the start of this project and then forget about it. The geology changes. So his contention was that we perhaps need to invest a lot more in geological studies in ongoing projects, whether it's 6 months or every year. I don't know what the frequency is, but he says that was more the reason why this tunnel collapsed, and not so much the tunneling technique or the engineers who are involved in that. In fact, he even gave the example of the gentleman who came from Australia, Arnold Dix. I believe he's the head of the International Micro Tunneling Association, and he has not found any structural flaws with this project.
I fail to understand this point, because the whole thing started several years ago, and and it is very clear from the studies that there is a large increase, a very huge, exponential increase in the landslides ever since this whole Char Dham project is being executed. The reason for this is we are actually going for a very wide road, which is not sustainable in a terrain like that. And the question here is, when you mentioned that, someone has mentioned about the geological studies. Yes, geological studies is part of the environmental assessment. And the question again, you need to ask that person is why this Char Dham project, including the tunneling part of it, has been executed without even doing an environmental assessment studies.
Okay. I'll ask Tuhin that in a moment, but Atul Sati has also been waiting quite patiently. Atul Sati, like I said earlier in my question to Mr. Rajendran as well, you have to balance out the fact that people are traveling much more for whatever reasons, tourism reasons, religious pilgrimage, whatever reasons. I mean, look at the last summer. I live in Delhi, in the national capital region. There were record number of people who traveled in the summer to the hills in Himachal Pradesh, in Uttarakhand. Now, the point is your infrastructure has to keep pace with that. And yet at the same time, there is of course the very real danger that these mass infrastructure projects, may be threatening the very fragile ecology of that region. And nature is what nature is. I mean, she takes back something that's been forcibly taken away from her. So my point is, how does one balance both?
देखिए, अभी तो कोई बैलेंस की बात हो नहीं रही है. अभी तो जो है एक तरफा सब चल रहा है, और जिस तरह का निर्माण पूरे हिमालय में और खास तौर पर उत्तराखंड में हो रहा है, ये तो कहीं बैलेंसिंग नहीं है. और अभी जैसे राजेंद्रन साहब कह रहे थे, ये जो पूरा प्रोजेक्ट है, इसमें तो जो है EIA तक नहीं किया गया. वो पूरे नॉर्म्स, वो पूरे लॉज जिनको पालन किया जाना चाहिए, उनके धज्जियां उड़ाई गई. और पूरे प्रोजेक्ट को जो है, ताकि EIA न करनी पड़े, जन सुनवाई न करनी पड़े, पब्लिक हियरिंग न करनी पड़े, तो उन्होंने इस पूरे प्रोजेक्ट को, जो कि 890 किलोमीटर का एक ही प्रोजेक्ट है, उसको 53 पार्ट्स में बांट दिया, 53 अलग अलग हिस्सों में बांट दिया. और ये सिर्फ इस प्रोजेक्ट के साथ नहीं है, यहाँ जितने हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट चल रहे हैं, बाकी जो प्रोजेक्ट चल रहे हैं, सब में इसी तरह नॉर्म्स के खिलाफ जा करके, नियम कानूनों का वो धता बता करके किया जा रहा है. तो यहाँ तो बैलेंस की बात नहीं है. अगर आप देखें कि यही जो 4 धाम का प्रोजेक्ट है, और जो आप कह रहे हैं कि बहुत सारे यात्री, बहुत सारे पर्यटक यहाँ आ रहे हैं, तो आप देखिएगा कि इसी सीजन में 50 लाख लोगों की दावा किया जा रहा है कि आए, और पूरे सीजन में लगातार लोग जाम में फंसे रहे. क्यों फंसे रहे? कि सड़क जरूर चौड़ी हो रही है, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ कहीं कोई पार्किंग की व्यवस्था नहीं है, बाकी मैनेजमेंट नहीं है. तो केवल एक तरफा विकास का आप ढांचा खड़ा कर देंगे तो इससे बैलेंस बनेगा नहीं. और आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि जो है प्रकृति अपना उससे बदला लेगी, और ये विज्ञान की सच्चाई है कि टाइटैनिक तो डूबेगा. तो अगर आप जो है एक तरफा इस तरह का काम करेंगे तो निश्चित तौर पर इसके दुष्परिणाम सामने आएंगे. हिमालय जो है बहुत समय से जो है बड़े भूकंप की प्रतीक्षा में है, और ये वैज्ञानिक कह रहे हैं कि कुछ सालों में एक बड़ा भूकंप यहाँ आ सकता है. वैसी स्थिति में जबकि ये टनल अगर बन गई होती, आप ये अनुमान लगाइए, और इसके अलावा रेलवे की पूरी सुरंग बन रही है, पूरा 90% जो है उसमें वो कर्णप्रयाग तक जो ट्रेन आ रही है वो सुरंग में है. तो तो अगर ये सब बन जाता और तब ये घटना होती है, 100-150 गाड़ियां वहां सुरंग के अंदर होती, तब हम क्या कर रहे होते। इसलिए हमको इस पर दोबारा सोचने की जरूरत है। गडकरी साहब ने खुद कहा है कि हमको इसको असेसमेंट करना पड़ेगा, दोबारा से रीथिंकिंग की जरूरत है, और न सिर्फ इस प्रोजेक्ट पर बल्कि पूरे ही हिमालय क्षेत्र में हम जिस तरह का विकास कर रहे हैं उस पर दोबारा से सोचे जाने की जरूरत है।
किया था कि NHAI ने बोला है 2 दिन पहले कि सारे जो टनलिंग प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं उसके असेसमेंट होंगे, बट to respond to what
Mr. Gadkari himself said that,
to what Mr. Sati has said and also what Mr. Rajendran has said, that the environmental impact assessment EIA is a study that is done for all large infrastructure projects in this country. In the case of the Char Dham project, it's about 850 kilometers. Because it's been divided into multiple parts, the EIA has been done away with, and perhaps, you should take a re-look at it because of this accident. We also had, I think there was an NTPC project some years ago where, again, workers were stuck inside a tunnel, it got flooded. There have been numerous both man-made and natural mishaps in the hills in the last few years, which only warrants that we be as safe as possible to him.